Hello, my name is Brian McKenzie, and I am your student's math teacher this year at Trauber Junior High. Since I know not everybody's able to be at curriculum night, I wanted to kind of share the same information here in a video, so that way you could kind of know what was going on in class, classroom policies and that kind of stuff, and what to expect this year. My contact information is here on the screen. Easiest way to get a hold of me during the day is through an email, but you're always welcome to leave me a voicemail as well, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. But I welcome any kind of communication or questions that you have. Very briefly about me, this is my 15th year here teaching at Trauber. My wife here over on the right is a kindergarten teacher at Lakewood Creek Elementary School. And then the little ones here are my twins, Kate and Owen. They're both 7 and they are first graders at Lakewood Creek Elementary School. So they actually go to the same school as my wife. Over on the left here is my daughter, Leah. She's actually a 7th grader here at Trauber as well. So I know firsthand what students are being asked for and what it's like having a 7th grader and a student in junior high. So I kind of know exactly what some of us are going through throughout the year. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here. You feel free to pause and kind of look at this as you would like. But this is the breakdown of what we'll be covering in 7th grade this year. Right now we're in the integers and rational numbers unit. We're focusing on adding and adding. Next week we're going to get into subtracting, and then we'll move on to multiplying and dividing. We'll probably make it through the first 4 units here before winter break, or close to it, and then we'll finish up the other 4 units in second semester. A little bit about my classroom. Even with social distancing and masks and whatnot, the students will still have opportunities to safely work with each other and collaborate, even if they can't be right next to each other while they're doing it. But I love for them to be able to work together and learn from each other and help each other out. The other big one is going to be the one in the bottom left, the flipped classroom. And I've actually been doing this for about 5 years this way. It actually tied in nicely when we were in remote learning because it worked well. But the idea is, instead of spending class time doing a lesson together, everybody kind of taking notes and going through things all at the same time, the students are actually going to watch a video lesson for homework some nights and take their notes on their own. And the idea being that, some students need to take a little bit more time and need to slow down, or they might need to rehear something more than one time, whereas someone else is able to move a little bit quicker and be able to move through a lesson a little bit faster. By letting them watch the video on their own and take their notes, they can go as fast or as slow as they need to. They can rewind, they can pause as they're writing things down and not feel like anybody's rushing them, and can kind of learn at whatever pace they're comfortable with. The idea being that they've done that kind of starting part at home, now they can come to class the next day, and now we get to practice it together. So that way I'm there and their classmates are there to help them as they're working through things, rather than having to try to learn it or try to practice it all on their own, whether it's at home or in study hall, without those added supports there. So they kind of do the note taking on their time, where they can kind of go through it at their own pace and what works best for them. And then we practice it together the next day, where I can be there to support them as they're working through it. A couple things for homework. We're starting kind of slow and I'm easing them into things, but in general, we'll have homework 3 to 4 nights a week. Homework should never take them more than 15 to 20 minutes. Most of the time, we'll see if we can find some time during class to start it on occasion, but it should not be something that takes up a great deal of their time. Homework will be kind of 2 different things. One, it might be watching one of those videos and taking notes, which is preparing them for the next day, or it could be some practice problems on something we've been working on, and it's their opportunity to try some on their own. Either way, they're not demonstrating their mastery of the material. They're just showing me what they've learned so far. They're making mistakes. They're learning from it. So with that in mind, homework for me does not count towards their overall grade. It's meant to be practice and preparation. It's not a summative assessment. It's not showing me their mastery of it. It's them learning it and making some mistakes. So when it comes to their overall grade, their tests and quizzes are what are going to be used for their overall grade, because they've had a chance to learn it, they've had a chance to practice, get some help, ask questions. Now it's time to show me that they kind of understand those concepts and have mastered those. Throughout the year, the best way to keep up on what they're doing in class is both in Google Classroom and in the Tyler 360 program. Google Classroom is probably going to be your best bet, simply because it's going to be the most up-to-date. So my suggestion is, if you feel like your student is one that you're going to need to keep a close eye on, is log in to Google Classroom on your own device or on your own computer, but use their login information. So I actually log in as my daughter's account. That way I can actually see her classes, I can see what she has for assignments, and can kind of keep tabs on how she's doing in her work. When I go into Google Classroom, the best way to kind of check is up in the top left-hand corner. You're going to see a little to-do. If you click on that, you'll see this screen that I have here on the right. It kind of maps out, okay, here's what assignments have already been posted for this week, or here's what's coming up for next week. If you click on the missing tab, it'll let you know any assignments they've fallen behind on that haven't been turned in on time. And it kind of lets you know how they're doing, what they should be working on, and if they are starting to fall behind. Grade-wise, you can also check in the Tyler 360 app or the Student 360. Same place you do check attendance and those other kind of things. The only downside is Tyler is always going to be a couple of days behind. Students will do the work, they'll work on it today, they'll turn it in tomorrow, then I need time to go over it and assess how they did with it and give them scores, and then it'll get updated in Tyler. So it's always going to be just a little bit behind because Google Classroom doesn't automatically go into Tyler. I have to tell it to update things in there, and that only happens a couple times a week. So just know that Tyler might be a little behind. You know, they might have had a missing assignment, they worked on it, they turned it in. It may take me a day or two before I have it updated, just because it takes several steps before we get there, and I have lots of assignments getting turned in. So just know that Google Classroom is always going to be your most up-to-date place to go. And then very last little bit, ways for them to be successful and to get some help when needed. The first is just to be an active participant in class. Participate in class, ask questions when they need it, really make a solid attempt when we're doing the problems in class. It's the best way to learn right then and there. Outside of class, they can go back and rewatch those video lessons. Even lessons that we've done in class together this first unit, I'm still posting those videos into their Google Classroom so they can go back and rewatch them if they need it. Or if maybe they were absent that day, they can get caught up on what they needed. If they have questions, encourage them to email me with those questions, but just help them learn how to be specific. Rather than say, hey, Mr. McKenzie, I don't get it. Say, hey, Mr. McKenzie, I'm working on assignment blank. I'm on problem number 3, and I'm struggling with what to do after this step. Or I keep getting this wrong answer. Where am I getting off track? The more specific they can be, the easier it is for me to be able to give them feedback quickly and be able to help them get back on track. Another opportunity for some help is, depending on their schedule, they could see me during their lunch or their study hall for some extra help if I happen to be off during those same periods. Or we have something called student support time that we start our day with each day. On certain mornings, they're able to get passes and go in and check in and work with other teachers. So if there's a day where they need to come in and see me for some extra help, we can always do that. And the last one is, on some assignments, I'll post an answer key so they can kind of see the work worked out and kind of check their work. Or I might attach a video to an assignment, kind of walking them through how to navigate through the assignment and those kind of things. Encourage them to use those resources there, because a lot of times that will clear up a lot of those questions for them. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. I look forward to a great year here in math, and please let me know if you have any questions or concerns as they come up.